My friends, suffering leaves invisible fingerprints on the soul. When you meet someone who has endured too much, you may not see their scars on the surface, but you can sense them in their eyes, their silence, and in the way they carry themselves through the world. Carl Jung once wrote that there is no coming to consciousness without pain. What he meant was that suffering does not simply wound us, it reshapes us. It carves pathways into the unconscious, forcing us to confront parts of ourselves we would otherwise avoid. If you have ever walked through the fire of grief, trauma, or relentless struggle, then you know you are not the same person who entered. Your brain rewires, your habits shift, your values transform. Some changes make you stronger, others make life harder, and many are so subtle that you do not notice them until you step back and reflect. In this journey, I will reveal the traits of people who have suffered too much. Not all are obvious. Some are nearly invisible, visible only to those who have carried their own burdens. As you listen, ask yourself, which of these do I recognize within me? Trait 1. Why you need everything just right. When life has been unpredictable for too long, the body learns to live in a constant state of watchfulness. Psychologists call this hypervigilance. It is not simply a habit. It is survival encoded into the nervous system. If you have ever double-checked the lock on your door, then returned again and again just to be certain, this is not mere forgetfulness. It is your brain scanning for threats, desperate to prevent the chaos it once endured. You may notice unease when a meeting does not start on time, when plans change suddenly, or when your partner does not text back as quickly as you hoped. It feels like the ground beneath you is unstable, and you grasp for control in the smallest of ways, through routines, through order, through making things just right. Jung might say that this is the psyche's way of reclaiming safety. After all, when the world has shown itself to be dangerous, is it any wonder that the soul grows cautious? But here lies a paradox. Hypervigilance guards you, yet it also imprisons you. The same watchfulness that protects you also exhausts you. The same control that brings comfort can make you rigid, unable to let life flow freely. And yet, there is wisdom hidden within this trait. Hypervigilance is the mark of someone who has learned the cost of carelessness. It is a scar, yes, but it is also evidence that you survived. Trait 2. Expecting the worst. The shield of disappointment. Do you find yourself bracing for the worst outcome, even in moments of hope? Perhaps you have whispered to yourself, if I expect disappointment, then I can never be disappointed. At first glance, this seems logical, even realistic. But beneath it lies the quiet voice of a wounded heart. This is not realism. It is self-protection. Disappointment is one of suffering's cruelest teachers. When life has let you down too many times, your mind begins to shield you preemptively. You lower expectations, not because you do not care, but because caring too much feels dangerous. Carl Jung might call this a defense of the ego, a strategy of the psyche to avoid being pierced again. Yet he would also warn, what protects you can also suffocate you. When you always expect the worst, you unconsciously close the door to joy, to surprise, to the possibility that life could finally go right. Consider a seed buried in the soil. If it never believes the sun will rise, it will not push upward. So too with the soul. When it convinces itself that disappointment is inevitable, it stops striving, stops trusting, stops blooming. If this trait lives in you, recognize it not as weakness, but as armor. And ask yourself, am I ready to take it off, at least sometimes, so that I may feel the warmth of life again? Trait 3, living loss, the grief. No one talks about. Not all grief comes from death. Some of the heaviest sorrows are the ones we carry silently. The loss of trust, the loss of identity, the collapse of a relationship, or the shattering of a dream. Psychologists call this living loss. It is the grief of mourning something that still exists in the world, but no longer belongs to you. Carl Jung observed that unprocessed grief lingers in the unconscious, whispering through dreams, repeating in behaviors, and shaping choices long after the event has passed. If you have suffered such a loss, you may notice how joy feels muted, as though you are watching life through a pane of glass. You are present, but a part of you remains trapped in the past, grieving a version of reality where things had gone differently. Perhaps you punish yourself for what you lost, replaying the what-ifs. Even when life gives you something good, a new relationship, a fulfilling career, you cannot step fully into it because your heart still aches for the timeline that vanished. Jung would call this the shadow of grief, the unseen weight that follows us until we dare to face it. And facing it does not mean forgetting. It means honoring the loss, letting it teach you, and then allowing yourself to live in the present again. Living loss is a wound without ceremony. No funerals are held for broken dreams. Yet those who suffer it carry an invisible burden, one that changes how they see themselves and the world. Trait 4. Growth or decline. Suffering is an earthquake of the soul. It shakes the ground beneath you, cracking apart everything you thought was stable and forcing you to ask, what truly matters? Some emerge bitter, hardened by resentment. Others emerge transformed, filled with new purpose and compassion. Psychologists call this post-traumatic growth, the idea that hardship can spark profound positive change, but it is not guaranteed. Suffering is like fire. It can forge steel, or it can consume. History gives us vivid examples. Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years, emerged not with vengeance, but with forgiveness. His suffering gave birth to reconciliation, shaping the destiny of a nation. Adolf Hitler, on the other hand, took his early rejection and personal pain and allowed it to fester into hatred, unleashing destruction on a global scale. Jung would remind us that suffering does not define us. It reveals us. It shows us the raw material of the soul, but it is we who choose how to shape it. Will we let pain corrode us, or will we let it carve us into something greater? This shift in values is one of suffering's deepest marks. Those who have endured often care less for trivial pursuits. They seek meaning, authenticity, depth. They no longer waste time on what is shallow, because they have looked into the abyss and know how precious life truly is. Trait 5, the wounded healer, turning pain into purpose. Perhaps the most paradoxical trait of all is the wounded healer. Jung described it as the soul that, because of its own suffering, feels called to heal others. You may have noticed this in yourself or in those around you. The counselor who grew up in chaos, the nurse who once lay in a hospital bed, the teacher who knows what it means to feel unseen. Their deepest wounds become the very fuel for their mission. On the surface, this seems noble, and it is. Pain makes us empathetic. Struggle makes us relatable. Those who have suffered often have the most compassionate hearts. But there is a hidden complexity. Sometimes the desire to heal others is also a disguised attempt to heal oneself. You may be drawn to people with the same struggles you once endured, hoping that by guiding them, you will finally soothe your own ache. Yet in doing so, you risk replaying your trauma, staying trapped in the cycle. This does not make the wounded healer false. It makes them human. The challenge, Jung would say, is to recognize that the healing of others cannot replace the healing of oneself. Only when you face your own shadow can you help others without losing yourself in their pain. If you carry this trait, know this: your scars are not a weakness. They are bridges. But do not forget to walk across your own bridge as well. The meaning of suffering. Yes, pain leaves a mark, but suffering is not the end of the story. The brain is not static. The soul is not fixed. Both can heal, adapt, and grow stronger. Jung believed that the meaning of life is found not in the avoidance of suffering, but in how we respond to it. The traits we have explored, hypervigilance, expecting disappointment, living loss, shifting values, the wounded healer, are not curses. They are signposts, pointing to the battles you have survived and the depths you have touched. If you see yourself in these traits, do not despair. See them as reminders that you have endured. You have walked through the fire and lived to tell the tale. Suffering shapes us, but it does not have to define us. The question is not whether you have suffered, but what you will do with your suffering now. Will you let it harden you, or will you let it deepen you? Will you let it chain you to the past, or will you allow it to carve a doorway into a more meaningful future? Carl Jung once wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." So I leave you with this. Your suffering is real, but so is your power to transform it. And in that transformation lies not only your healing, but the light you may carry for others still lost in the dark. The choice that defines you. And here lies the central truth. Suffering itself does not decide your destiny. It is your response that determines who you become. Some allow pain to harden them into bitterness, shutting out the world, trusting no one, giving nothing of themselves. Others allow pain to soften them, to make them compassionate, wise, and deeply alive. Both carry scars, but one carries scars as chains, and the other carries them as symbols of survival. You cannot always control the suffering that comes into your life. But you can control how you interpret it, how you carry it, and how you use it. Jung would say that in this choice lies the possibility of individuation, the process of becoming whole. So I ask you, what has your suffering given you? Perhaps it has given you the ability to notice the small joys that others overlook. Perhaps it has given you empathy for the broken, compassion for the forgotten, strength for those who cannot yet stand. Perhaps it has given you the clarity to cut away what does not matter and the courage to pursue what truly does. Yes, pain leaves wounds, but sometimes those wounds become windows through which the light enters. Jung himself once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. And suffering, if you let it, can guide you to that acceptance. Because once you have endured what you thought would destroy you, you begin to see you are stronger, deeper, more resilient than you ever imagined." If you are listening now and you recognize these traits within yourself, hypervigilance, expecting disappointment, silent grief, shifting values, the wounded healer, know this: you are not broken. You are marked. You are initiated. The world may not honor your suffering. It may not see your scars, but your soul knows. And the depth you carry is your gift to the world. So let me leave you with this. Do not run from your suffering. Do not bury it. Do not let it define you, but do not deny it either. Instead, look into it, learn from it, integrate it. For it is not what happened to you that defines your destiny. It is what you choose to do with it. You are not merely a victim of suffering, you are its alchemist, and if you choose, you can turn even your deepest wounds into gold.